friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. I got them guys, all four. I have all four of the new Chanel Tweed eyeshadow palettes for fall 2022. This is gonna be my completely honest, unbiased review for you guys. I have daylight swatches, I have wearable looks with each of these. I'm gonna be going through whether or not I think these are worth the hype, and also which one should you get, because not all of them are created equal. If you guys are interested in hearing all of my thoughts, because I have a lot, then keep watching. And if you are new here, then welcome. My name is Sophia, and this is my channel where we talk about all things beauty and luxury. I upload content every single week on all the newest luxury beauty releases. We love Chanel, Dior, Tom Ford, Pat McGrath, you name it. We love all those brands over here on this channel. So if you want to join the fam, because we have so much fun over here on my channel, then hit that subscribe button, and you can also click the notification bell to hear about every time I upload a new video. If you like this style of video, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It really helps me with the YouTube algorithm, and I will do my best, guys, to put all of the launch details, the links, anything that I mentioned in this video in the description box down below, anything that is on my face, it will be linked in the description box down below. Okay, friends, so let's talk a little bit about this release. This is probably one of the most highly anticipated releases in the luxury beauty community for this year. In this release, we have what are not one, not two, not three, but 4 palettes from Chanel. This is a fall 2022 release from Chanel, but I'm pretty sure that these were supposed to launch last year. But unfortunately, with all the supply chain issues that especially were happening like last fall and holiday season, it seems like they have pushed these back. Now, these are limited edition palettes, and they celebrate the iconic, the very fashionable, the historical Chanel Tweed, obviously. And what makes these super duper special are 2 things. So number one, each of them comes with its own custom little tweed jacket. How cute. How cute is that? Perfect for fall. I really like tweed. I'm a fan. I didn't have like a tweed jacket to wear during this video, but I should have thought about that ahead of time. But yes, each of them comes with its own little tweed jacket. Unfortunately, one of mine is missing. I was able to get these in advance, but unfortunately, one of the palettes does not have its little tweed jacket. But I am here to show you guys that each of these, they have their own little tweed jacket, and the colors of the tweed sleeve match the colors of the palette. Now, that's the first thing that makes these super unique. The other thing that makes these really unique and Instagram drool worthy is the tweed embossing. I will show you guys tons of close-ups in this video so that you guys can appreciate the beautiful embossing. It really does look like tweed, and I think that's why everyone is just losing their minds over this collection, not only because the color stories are very beautiful, but also because, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen anything like this, and I think it's so quintessentially Chanel. It's very intriguing, and you guys know, I like Chanel. Like, there are some things that I absolutely adore, and then there are some things that I'm like, kind of overpriced, don't really care about it. But this is something, this turned my head, this caught my eye, so I needed to review this for you guys. Now, obviously, I did manage to get these palettes in advance. These are currently launching across different countries right now. I will put as much launch information that I have in the description box down below. At the time of me filming this video, I have heard that you can pre-order these from Nordstrom. They are also popping up in Chanel boutiques in the US and in Europe. So what I would maybe recommend right now is calling your local Chanel boutique, call your sales associate, call your local Nordstrom Chanel counter, see if they're gonna have these available. I have also heard that these are going to launch September 1st in Canada. I don't know if these are ever gonna make it to the website, guys. I think that these are going to sell like hotcakes. So I'm trying to get this review up for you guys as soon as possible so you can decide if any of the colorways are going to be worth your money. But once again, I will put whatever I know in the description box down below. Another really great tip is just to follow me on Instagram. I will put my handle up here so you guys can go see my page. In my Instagram stories, that's usually where I tell you guys like when new things launch, when things come back in stock, when things go on sale. So head on over to my Instagram and follow me there if you want to connect with me, and if you guys want live updates on the availability of these palettes and other hard to find luxury launches this upcoming fall and holiday season. So those are all the details that I have about these palettes at this time. What I am going to do now is I'm going to go through each of the 4 palettes one by one. I'm going to show you close-ups, daylight swatches, and then I have done a wearable look with each of them. So you guys are going to see swatches and a demo of each. I'm also going to kind of tell you what do I think of the formula of each one, and then at the end I will summarize everything in my final thoughts and let you guys know if I think these are worth it or do I think they are just super overhyped. So let's get into it. First up, we have palette number 1, and this one is called Tweed Cuivre. I know my pronunciation is horrible, guys. Please bear with me. I am trying. Now, this palette features a mixture of golds, bronzes and browns. It's very neutral. If you like neutral tones that aren't too warm tone, but also not too cool tone, then this may be a really good palette for you. I do want to mention that this palette, this is the one that is the most pigmented. So if you're somebody who's looking for a little bit more pigment than your typical Chanel palette, this might be the one that you want to gravitate towards. Also, if you have a darker skin tone, I think this is probably the one that I would recommend the most, especially because this sort of sparkly gold shade right here, it gives a little bit more of like a metallic finish that I think is going to show up on most skin tones. Now, you guys are going to see in the demo, I feel like with this one, the metallics here, they're just a little bit creamier than the other three palettes, which is why I think that this one has the most pigment. I also felt like the darkest matte, it's pretty easy to work with. It's very blendable. And the thing that I like the most about this palette is just what I said before, the stunning gold sparkly topper shade. It's not gonna sparkle and shine like a Pat McGrath palette. This is Chanel that we're talking about, but I did really appreciate that shade. I'm somebody where like, I like to brighten up the whole look, or at least have one shade in the palette that if I'm only gonna use maybe one or two shades, I can kind of gravitate towards that to get a really nice day look. Next up, we have palette number 2, Tweed Pourpre. I know my pronunciation is so bad. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so like this palette, it's definitely the worst one of the 4. It is the least pigmented, which makes me sad because I was really excited for this one. I think that the color story is really beautiful, but it just doesn't have enough pigment. Like I really have to dig in there, guys, to get some pigment. The other thing that I just don't prefer about this palette is the fact that you're not getting any shimmer or shine. All of the shades have a very similar finish and you don't really get much depth. Like when you look at this palette, the shades are all very similar. And for that reason, I just don't think that you can't get a lot of differentiation between all of the looks. I just think that in general, this one is rather dusty and I highly recommend that you do not pick this one up. Next, we have palette number 3, Tweed Fauve. Now, this is the one that I was the most excited about because if you are new here, I love warm tones. This one looked so stunning. I love corals and golds, and I really like the inclusion of the darker purpley shade to kind of add a little bit of depth. Unfortunately, this one just fell kind of short for me. I really wanted the coral shade to be punchier. I'm just not super happy with the pigment that it provides. I also felt like the darker purpley shade, it's a little patchy. It's not as blendable as, let's say, the dark brown from the first palette. I didn't think it was the most easy one to work with. The gold shade is pretty. It's very much appreciated. You guys know, like I love golds, but I really felt like I had to kind of dig into this shade to get the color payoff that I needed. I would recommend going in with a finger or the little applicators that come with these palettes, the little foam applicators. I feel like using those gives me the best color payoff with some of these shades that just don't have enough pigment. I think kind of laying them down along the eye with the little foam applicator was the best way to get the best color payoff. Lastly, we have palette number 4, which is called Brun Et Rose, and this is a mixture of cool toned nudes. This is the one that when I asked you guys, which is the one that you are the most excited about, this is the one that won out. So I think that, you know, just so you guys know, I think this one is probably going to be the most popular. This is also the one that I am wearing on my eyes today and the one that surprised me the most because typically I don't really go for cool tones, but I think that this one probably has the best quality. It might not be the most pigmented, but I think that the experience of using the shadows, the color payoff, and the way that the colors work together, you know, the different finishes and the tones, this is the one that I like the best. This is my favorite one. This is the one that I recommend if you're going to pick up any of the ones in this collection. And of course, if you like cool tones, this is the one that I would go with. I think that maybe with this one, the pigments aren't as hard pressed. Like the mattes are a little bit softer, which makes them more blendable. I also think that the darkest shade in the palette was fairly easy to work with. As you guys can see from the look that I created, it's kind of like, it's a smoky, cool toned look, but it's not too over the top. So I think if you're looking for something that gives you that sort of cool toned smoky effect, but you don't want anything like too extreme for the daytime, this might be a good palette for you. I also think that the bright champagne shade, it kind of saves the day. This shade is a lot softer, and for that reason, you're able to pick up a lot more pigment to lay onto the eye. Now, I think you need to be a little bit careful with fallout. Again, using the little applicator or a very sort of firm brush is probably the way to go. I applied this to the inner corner and kind of along the lower lash line, and I think it did a really great job of kind of toning down the smokiness of this palette. palette while also adding just like a touch of brightness, a little bit of shimmer. I hope all of this so far has been helpful for you guys. I'm gonna do my best to just summarize my thoughts of these, let you guys know what I think of each individual palette and also just the collection as a whole. Starting off just kind of with the color stories of this collection, I think that the color stories are very pretty. I don't think that they are groundbreaking. I do recommend that you look at your current eyeshadow collection, your Chanel collection, any kind of luxury formulas that you have, look and see what colors that you have, because I think you're gonna find that these aren't that unique. That being said, I do think that they are going to appeal to the typical Chanel customer. They're beautiful color stories. They're beautiful color stories, but they're definitely kind of dupable. Some of them swatch very well, actually better than a lot of other Chanel quads. But in general, I think that the pigmentation is just kind of lacking. I find that you do really have to like dig into the pan to get the pigment, and especially because you have this tweed embossing. I found that you almost have to kind of like break through the embossing before you can get to more pigment. I'll sort of show you guys right here on the warm tone palette. This is number 3, Tweed Fauve. You'll see how much I've dug into this coral shade just to try and get a little bit more pigment. And I want to call that out because I know some of you guys, you're buying this because you think that the embossing is so beautiful, but the tweed embossing, it really does fade away pretty quickly. So I want to call that out. These aren't the most pigmented. Some of them swatch very well, but I do feel like I had to dig quite a little bit. And I feel like going in with the little sponge applicators is probably the way to go if you want to get just like a little bit more punch from these shadows. Going through each of these one by one, if we start off with number 1, which is Tweed Cuivre, once again, I think this one is the most pigmented. It's not my most favorite, you know, like it's the most pigmented, but that being said, it's also probably like the most boring color story out of the 4. I love good gold. I love browns. I love golds, but we have this in our collection. So this wouldn't be my top pick from the collection. It would be for folks who maybe want something more pigmented. So that's why I call that out. But when we look at this, we probably can dupe this with other color schemes in our collection. To be honest with you guys, if you're not feeling this formula, I would probably point you in the direction of the new Guerlain quads. They have a very similar color story that they just launched. I believe it's called Jungle. I will put an image up here. I prefer that formula more than this, and I think you're going to get just like a more blended ethereal type of effect. So those are my thoughts on the first palette. I like the pigmentation. The color story is cute, but I just don't think it's anything special. Now for number 2, Tweed Pourpre. You guys already know my thoughts on this. This is dusty. This is not a good eyeshadow palette. There's nothing special about this. There's no sparkle. All of the shades look the same. When you put them on the eye, they all kind of blend together. Please don't downvote this video for what I'm about to say, but honestly, if this wasn't in a Chanel packaging, would we think that it was drugstore? I don't know. I don't think it's that good of a palette. I think if you are looking at all these color stories, this is the one that I would rank on the bottom. So personally, I recommend that you do not pick this one up. Number 3, Tweed Fauve. This is the one that was the most disappointing for me because this is the color story that I was most drawn to. And I just like the juxtaposition of like the gold and the purple. I like that there's a red. I felt like there was opportunity here. There was potential. And Chanel just kind of let me down. I think this was the first one that I tried when I started testing these out, and I was like, I was so disappointed. The pigmentation is just not there. I really feel like I have to dig into these. The mattes are just not as blendable. And when I think about all of the other beautiful warm tone palettes in my collection, I just don't think that I'm going to be reaching for this. I think that there are definitely lots of other options out there on the market that are kind of like in this warm tone family. So this one, I like the color story, but I just really was not wowed by the formula. And finally, number 4, Tweed Brun Et Rose. This one is my favorite. I think that this one is probably the most accessible to like a wide range of skin tones. The formula is a little softer. It's not as hard pressed. It's easier to work with. I like the differentiation in tones. I think it's very Chanel. I think it's a very sophisticated color story. But do I like it more than my Natasha Denona Glam palette? I don't think so. Do I like it more than Dior Soft Cashmere Quint? Definitely not. Like, there are other options on the market that I think are better than this and are cheaper than this. You could get a whole palette for the price of this or less than the price of this, honestly, from other brands. So if you guys are thinking of picking one of these up, I think I would recommend this one, number 4, Tweed Brun Et Rose. But in general, I think you guys are kind of understanding how I'm going to be summing these up. I just don't think that these are worth the price. Who do I think that these are for? I think that these are for those of you guys who love Chanel. You are a Chanel collector. You want to treat yourself to something special, something limited edition. Maybe you want to give a really beautiful gift and it's somebody that already really likes Chanel eyeshadows. Take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm doing this review to try and like bring a different perspective on these shadows and on this review, because I know a lot of the folks that review this makeup, they are like hardcore Chanel lovers. And for me, I just don't care for their eyeshadows all that much. I don't like the pigmentation. I prefer something that is equally as blendable and sort of light, but just has a little bit more punch. So I prefer like the Tom Ford, the Dior, the Guerlain quads. That's kind of more of my taste. But I'm always open-minded. Like, this made my head turn. I really wanted to try these out. I just don't think that these are going to be like one of my favorite releases of 2022. I think they are very overhyped, but I do appreciate the attention to detail. I love the celebration of the tweed. I love the little tweed jackets. Like, the thoughtfulness was there. I really appreciate that. And for that, I think a lot of Chanel consumers are really gonna like this. But I put this review out for you guys so you can know what are the differences between the palettes, because these are gonna be very hard to get. And the last thing that I want is for you guys to like break your backs trying to get all 4 of these, or trying to get the one that you really want, the color story that you love, and then find out that maybe the pigmentation isn't what you wanted, or maybe like the formula isn't what you wanted. So that's what this review is for. But enough about what I think. What do you guys think? Because it's totally okay. We can disagree. I would love to know what you think of this release. Have you gotten your hands on any of these palettes yet? Sound off in the comments down below so we can talk about this as a community. You guys always know I love hearing your perspectives. Let's just all be respectful to each other in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Because we have so much fun on this channel. In addition to luxury makeup videos, I also do like luxury hauls. I do bag unboxings. So if you guys just love luxury in general, you just love makeup, then you need to join the fam. So hit that subscribe button to join this channel. And with that, guys, I hope that you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.